The focus of today's presentation has been on the work done at Eskom, including stabilizing leadership at power stations and how close we are to eradicating load shedding and, of course, load reduction. But this all coming against the backdrop of the pressure being felt by consumers, the middle class, as well as lower income households of high electricity prices. But to take us through today's briefing and today's presentation, I'm turning now to the Electricity Minister, Dr. Kgosientsho Ramokgopa. Minister, thank you so much for your time today. Of course, this presentation coming against that backdrop that I note high electricity prices and that out-of-court settlements, 54 billion rand. Talk to us about then the reform being done around electricity prices.
Well, thank you very much. I think the biggest message was that we are confident that going to the summer will not have load shedding, and in fact ultimately our ambition is to ensure that we talk of load shedding in past tense. But you are absolutely correct. I think there is a major issue now that's confronting us, and that's an issue of affordability. As you have correctly mentioned, it affects the middle class, it affects the poor disproportionately, it undermines the competitiveness of businesses, and also what we had seen just the other day, the issues around the computation of the tariff for the next financial year, the error on the part of NERSA, that means an additional 54 billion rand. That must come from the consumer. So I've made the point that we are doing everything possible now to address this new front. Remember, previously we were dealing with the issue of load shedding. We're dealing with load reduction. We've made the point that in the next 12 to 18 months we'll have dealt with load reduction. Every village, street and suburb where we find it, we're going to deal with it. But I think the biggest issue now becomes that of affordability, it eroding the disposable income of many households, like I said, undermining businesses. We've already started internally. We already have an appreciation of what are the areas that requires attention, especially the cost of primary energy, bringing into the mix new sources of generation, using cheaper and cleaner forms of generation is going to help us to address that situation, but also cushioning the poor in the form of free basic electricity. So those are some of the things that are in the bucket. We are going to canvass that with the general public, and I'm sure there are other ideas that we're going to get from the general public. And once we finish that process, we're hoping by the first half of next year, we'll announce a new pricing policy that's going to help us to provide relief for households, but to make businesses more competitive so that everyone can enjoy, if you like, the turnaround that Eskom has been able to deliver. You can have electricity, but if it's not affordable, it's as good as not having it. So that's our sights are set on resolving the issue of cost.
And then just the issue then on transmission, then you've also pointed out load reduction. We're working to eradicate that, but then the work of the National Transmission Company.
Absolutely. I think for us to have a new generation capacity from renewables, we know that our renewable energy assets are really concentrated in the Cape provinces, and that's why we have exhausted grid capacity. Our own computations suggest that we need to expand and modernize our grid by 14,000 kilometers. It's going to cost us 440 billion rands to do that. We've already kickstarted the first phase of inviting private sector to come and help us to build the grid. We have announced that, so we are confident we'll get the private sector. We're doing 7 projects as part of the first phase. They are going to unlock about 3,200 megawatts of new generation capacity, and that's cleaner, greener, relatively cheaper. Once you add in the mix these cheaper forms of electricity, it's got the net impact of dampening, if you like, the price increases, and over time there's going to be a real reduction in the cost of electricity. That's going to take time. In the intermediate, we need to find policy interventions to resolve the issue of pricing. But yes, I think the expansion and modernization of transmission is key to building a resilient energy infrastructure and guaranteeing energy security in the country.